Marhaba. Hello once again to our brothers and sisters around the world who, like we, are in favor of Palestinian equality, justice, and peace for everyone. My name is American historian Dr. Jack Dempsey, and with me is Palestinian historian Muhammad Jihad Ismael, who's living in the Gaza territory. To be specific, Deir al Balah. That was their home most of their lives. Since I've known Muhammad for over 3 years now, in October, or as of October, they were driven from there by white phosphorus, a war crime, and driven from there to an UNRWA shelter in Khan Younis for about 6 to 8 weeks. And then they were forced to migrate again to a so-called safe zone in a disaster area called Rafah. The conditions there were so bad that while millions of others stayed, Muhammad, his wife, his three toddler children, his parents, and probably other friends decided to walk back home 13 kilometers through a gauntlet of horrors that we have talked about in earlier programs. And they are back in their home, which we had helped them to improve before the war, in Deir al Balah. And they have said, as my brother right here says bravely, here we are going to live or die together. And we are waiting on tenterhooks to see what happens. Today is Monday, May 27th. And Mohammed and I always struggle with a good internet signal, so we hope you'll bear with any technical flaws that appertain hereunto. But today it seems as though we have a pretty good signal, so we're going to jump in after an attempt yesterday that was not working at all. In our previous program, final note here up front, we talked about having a program about Salim al-Nafar, very famous Palestinian poet who was murdered with an entire extended family in Gaza City in the northern part, which he refused to leave. Muhammad has called him a wild adventurer, and he was a very learned, very sweet, very civilized man. And the whole Palestinian world grieves for him. His books are taught in the schools and so forth. So we are going to do that program, but Muhammad generously loaned most of his materials to a woman in the territory that has been cut off from him. So we're waiting for him to get hold of the best of what he knows of Salim's work, and we're going to share more of that with you because it's been, in terms of response, very popular. So, Mohammed, I know you're always very patient with me talking so much in the beginning, but I wanted to tell something of your conditions up until this day. How are you? How is your family? And what is the situation there in Deir al Balah, a little bit south of Gaza City?
Hello, brother. Hello, everybody. I am so happy to be talking with you today. The situation in Deir al Balah is the same. Nothing new to be told about this small town, which became now a big refuge for hundreds of thousands of Gazans. Gazans from several places in Gaza have immigrated and sheltered inside this town. Now, Deir al Balah is crowded with a huge amount of population, and unfortunately, food is not enough, water is not enough, medicine is not enough. All the services are not enough for all of these people who are living now in this small town.
And
One
Mohammed, those
family is
those are the conditions that you've been living since I think 2005 at least. This is only 100 times worse, is it not?
yes, exactly. Yeah, that's right.
And you mentioned when we did manage to get through some talk yesterday that, for example, you see people, I mean, 900,000 are estimated to have left Rafah alone, and many of them crowded into Balah. And you see people running up and down the streets. And you ask them, where are you going? What are you doing? And they say, I'm looking for some shade because all the beloved trees of the Palestinians living there, virtually all of them have been cut down just for firewood. And you know why? Because they need wood or something to burn to cook their food. They're living in Stone Age conditions, cooking over wire frames on which sits a frying pan, hopefully of iron that will help fight anemia. And they burn whatever they can find underneath that. So it just couldn't be worse. Insect infestations, snakes, scorpions, trash uncollected, all the cancerous residues of bombardment that are in the air, in the water, and the earth. The place is simply a hell on earth, and they're never far. Rafah was just bombed last night, and 35 Palestinians were killed in their plastic tents in order to try to kill two supposed Hamas militants, whose presence has not been verified by anyone. Israel never allows such a thing. And the shaking and the sounds are never far from Muhammad's house there in Deir al Balah, such that the children become so terrified that they wet their clothes. These are little toddlers, 3 and 5 and 6 years old, and that's the kind of experience they're having. One other note from today, Muhammad, is that just today, the Israeli Knesset voted unanimously, or close to it, to vote UNRWA a terrorist organization. The United Nations Relief Works Agency was almost the only organization even remotely adequate to help bring food and supplies in to the Palestinian people. And you can imagine how little, if any, ability they're going to have now, being designated with absolutely no evidence. And that's the opinion of the ICC, their instant response, with absolutely no evidence. They're using hunger as a weapon. So, Mohammed, tell us more about your conditions. And there's a big question hanging over us today. How do you do it, Mohammed? How do you stay not crazy? How do you not go crazy in these conditions?
Uh, I am looking in my surrounding. I am finding a lot of people are running in the street, behaving like mad people. I am asking them, what are you doing? Why are you running in the street? They tell me, we are escaping from the hill. We have a hill inside the tent. Our plastic, our nylon tents are absorbing the heat of the sun, are absorbing the high temperature. We cannot afford living inside the tent. It became a hell. They are running in the streets, in the roads, searching for some water to smear their faces, to smear their hands, arms, necks, clothes. Today we have African arid winds coming from Sinai Peninsula. It's very, very, very hot winds. So can you imagine how those people are living in this situation? You have very hot winds, you have very high temperature, and unfortunately, those tents are absorbing the heat. So people cannot afford life inside them because
So
they
they
are healthy.
they sweat and they become dehydrated and they become crazier, looking for more water to try to relieve their condition. And I'll tell you, Mohammed, I know those winds you're talking about because I live in Crete. And when the wind comes across the Mediterranean and down the mountains in particular times of the year, particularly the spring, it brings sometimes terrible dust storms. He's right that the heat from and the wind together make you feel as if you're in a blast furnace. It just comes scouring down the mountains. It's full of sand, it's full of black flies, it's full of microbes that cause disease. And even into ancient times, the Egyptian records tell us that there would be massive crime waves when this kind of weather ruled, because people would just go crazy with the irritation. So imagine that on top of all the situation that you're going through. And meanwhile, Mohammed, the food, the supplies that you so desperately need, including clean water, it's rotting on the trucks that Israel is not allowing to come in. There is not anywhere near enough coming from the so-called floating pier that the West has built. Who knows what that thing was all about? What are you surviving on every day? What's your typical meal that you do manage to bring together for your family?
Most of the days we are eating sardines, canned sardines. It's cheap and an available sort of food. Besides sardines, we eat the lentil soup. Sometimes when we have some vegetables, we make vegetables salad, adding some tahini, adding some olive oil. Most of the days we are eating these three sorts of food: sardines, salad, lentil soup.
And fish has always been a major part of the coastal Palestinian diet. Palestinian fishermen are not allowed to go very far into the ocean at all to find the kind of fish that could really sustain people. The fish you do get is frozen, half spoiled, or maybe it's in cans of tuna. And then while the food rots on the trucks that are being kept out of Israel, if anything does get through, Hamas, with their guns, confiscates it and then sells it to Palestinian people who have no money. So their situation from every direction is impossible. Muhammad and I look often, as much as we can, to find any network of news, even electronic intifada, Al Jazeera, the Gray Zone, Judge Napolitano, all kinds of Scott Ritter, any kind of reliable journalistic source you can imagine. And no one will report that Hamas is doing this. Muhammad is the only one brave enough to speak up. And I'm sure that this is something that worries him in the nighttime because these people aren't kidding around. If they want to come get you, they will.
Yeah, they doesn't want a reasonable Palestinian voices to be heard. They don't want to listen the voice of reason, the voice of logic, the voice of reality. They want always to support Hamas, only Hamas, and the point of view of Hamas. For me, Hamas ideology is not accepted because Hamas, first of all, is a theocratic party. It believes in the discrimination on the basis of religion. If you are Muslim, you will be discriminated from the other contents of society. This is number one. Even inside the Muslim society, there is some sort of discrimination even between the Muslims. If you belong to the Muslim Brotherhood, you will be the elite. You will be the best. If you are mystical or Salafi or belonging to other Muslim groups, you will be inferior, not superior like them. So the ideology of Hamas simply is not acceptable for me as Muhammad. I believe in the equality. I believe in the Palestinian democratic state, which is based on the human rights, equality. All people should respect law, institution in this state. There should be no kinds of discrimination. The Muslim should be equal with the Christian, with the Jew, with the not religious.
So
So,
as you've
so I
explained it, as you've explained it to me, Muhammad, you've said that in another way, Hamas is a group of families that are very closely affiliated, and they see themselves as a kind of a private, separate group from the majority of Palestinian families and clans and affiliations. Do you believe, do you hear that most Palestinians, ordinary citizens who are not part of the government, do most Palestinians feel that way? They do not support Hamas. They wish for a peaceful resolution. They would like to have a different kind of government and they want to vote for it. Do you feel that's what most people feel?
yes, no doubt. I can speak about Gaza Strip. I cannot talk about West Bank
Of course,
because I didn't visit West Bank before in my life.
of course.
I cannot I cannot judge about the West Banker. But if you want to speak about Gaza Strip, especially in these cruel days, yeah, most of the people, the mainstream of people, are against Hamas, are looking for peace, for coexistence. They are looking for their dignity. They are looking for the future of their coming generations, of their kids, of their
Yes.
children. I don't know how the civilized world is supporting Hamas, while Hamas, in its ideology, doesn't respect the democratic state, doesn't respect the equality between people, doesn't
This is a
respect
really,
human rights.
yes, this
Hamas,
is, go ahead.
Hamas unfortunately is violating the international law, the, the international humanitarian law. Hamas is practicing so many kinds of torture against the Palestinian people, killing, kidnapping,
Stealing their
uh,
food.
stealing their food. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Silencing people. Your voice should not be heard. Even the journalism here in Gaza is restricted by Hamas.
And
You
Mohammed,
cannot.
I want to pray for your safety because I know in our 3 years of friendship, there have been times when you have been truly afraid that they were going to come after you for some of the things you've said. I notice now that you are really opening up and talking a lot more about Hamas and how Palestinian people do not support or approve them and never did. Even in the heroic March of Peace in 2018, that was not a Hamas organized event. That was organized by a poet and a group of young people, and they were shot to death. So that led me in my learning from you to ask you, well, what else could Palestinians do except what Hamas has done? They must break out of the prison, they must attack the military aspects of the culture that's oppressing them, and so forth. But you have a very original and to me very brave and brilliant point of view on this. You have said, Mohammed, that we have to try peaceful means only. And many people will suffer and die and be arrested. But I said that, and you said, but that's what's happening now. Look how many thousands and thousands are dying now. And we are fighting a war we do not want.
Yeah, this is the result of the military action, not the peaceful action. This is the result of Hamas adventure. Hamas on October 7th used to attack Israel, uh, carrying out a very, very massive attack against the civilians inside Israel. It hundreds of Israelis were killed. With
Mohammed, you are breaking up a little bit. I am not hearing you well.
Now,
Please, Mohammed, please repeat what you have said because we could not tell what you were saying. Please repeat what you were just saying.
I say that this is the result of the military action. What happened by Hamas on October 7th was a military adventure, a military crazy adventure. And what we are harvesting now is the results of this adventure. Always we have to try the peaceful means. We haven't other choice. Israel is a nuclear country, has very, very modern, very powerful army. We cannot challenge Israel in this field. We have only to try the peaceful means. Gandhi in India used to confront Britain, Great Britain, with those means, with the peaceful means, and finally he succeeded.
Yes.
We cannot confront Israel by the military means. We are destroying ourselves, not destroying Israel. Yeah, we have always just to do the peaceful struggle.
So some people might say, Mohammed, that, well, what you're talking about is happening. The world's opinion really is changing. Most of the world, the global south and much of the north, are completely now openly saying the Palestinians must have their freedom. They must have justice. They must have equality in one shape or another. a two-state solution or one state of all equals. But Israel is not going to allow either of those. So let me ask you what many people might ask you is that, so do you think that Hamas's action has changed the world, or is it that it has been so violent that it has made people realize we must try another way? Because the Palestinians, Gaza, are being destroyed. They are being destroyed by Israel. So you have said we would be suffering also if we tried the peaceful means, but which way is better? Which way is more likely to create peace, right?
Yeah. Always we have to predict the casualties, the losses. We didn't pay similar losses before. What we what is happening now is a massive destruction for all of Gaza. Gaza will need so many decades for the rebuild.
Yes,
Yeah. Always, if you remember, always, even before this war, I were telling you my opinion, my
that's
solid
right.
attitude. Yeah, my solid attitude. I am against the military means of struggle against Israel because already we will be the losers. We will bring the destruction to ourselves, to our children, to our coming generations. Yeah, I think always we have to do the peaceful struggle as a historian who used to study all
Yes.
the history, all the history of the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. I did use other way. We have always to do the peaceful means of struggle.
And you know, you're right about one other important thing too, is that when two sides will not give in to the other side, when they are absolutely trapped in the war, one of them has to step out and do the peaceful thing. One of them has to break the cycle and begin to reach out in real ways. And I'm not surprised at all that it's you, Muhammad. You are the brother I've come to respect and love and learn from so much. And well, to let those subjects rest for a moment, I think we might have time if you'd like. We talked last time too about the murder, the loss of your younger brother Ahmad. And it was a terrible, terrible event that came to your family while you were in Rafah. And at jackdempseywriter.wordpress.com, jackdempseywriter.wordpress.com, you can see photographs of Ahmad, the most handsome, dark-eyed, dashing-looking man, muscular and rock handsome, just unbelievable, powerful individual. Was involved a lot in humanitarian work in the Gaza Strip even before the war. So Muhammad, it's a terribly sad story about what happened to him. Would you tell us a little about, well, how you got the news, what you went to do to recover his body, and how you are dealing with it?
Yeah, it was a shocking surprise, bad surprise, happened to me and to my family. He was murdered by the fire of the Israeli artillery. It was a random artillery shelling targeting the area of his existence. He was trying to help people, serving them, uh, bringing them some clean water for drinking.
Uh-huh.
And, and from the first day of war, Ahmad was making his humanitarian duty. He
And
was
Mohammed,
helping people.
this happened outside of Rafah in what month? December? Wasn't it December?
It took place on December 31st, the last day of
Near
the year.
Rafah?
No, no, in Deir al Balah, Deir al Balah,
Okay.
yeah. And he was murdered all together with my brother-in-law, the husband of my sister. Both of them were killed by the same artillery fire.
His name was Muhammad also, and we have a beautiful photo of him as well at jackdempseywriter.wordpress.com. And Muhammad and I, by the way, have done over 50 programs about Palestinian culture, life, history, archaeology, politics, whatever you might like to explore, even their ancient village life of Shaphir when Muhammad's parents and grandparents lived there. So Muhammad Ahmad was struck in the head by shrapnel. You found his body somehow, and then you managed to transport it to a place of dignity where you could bury him. Do you want to tell about that? Last time you were trying to.
Yeah, unfortunately, all the cemeteries in Gaza Strip are full. There is no space inside them. I took the dead bodies of Ahmed and Muhammad. I hired a jeep car. I put the dead bodies in the box of the car. I used to wander so many hours searching for just a couple of square meters, just to dig a tomb and to do their burial. But unfortunately, I didn't find. Finally, at one of the cemeteries, I found a second-hand grave. Someone was graved inside it in the year 1974. According to the standards of Islam, you can dig the grave and reuse it after 40 years.
Yes.
So
Is there a marker there with his name? Is there a marker did you leave with his name?
yeah, there is a big epitaph on the grave. We read the epitaph, and of course we took the permission of the guardian of this cemetery. You have to take the permission from the guardian. Yeah, he permitted us to dig. We digged the grave, and we buried both of them inside this very, very narrow grave.
I can almost not imagine the strength that you have, Muhammad, to have to do such a thing. It's hard enough for anybody in the general, average, normal quote world to deal with the death of a family member, especially your younger brother, something I faced in my youth, and it was a very devastating event that's still hard for me to talk about. But the strength that it must have taken you to take him and your brother-in-law Muhammad to their final resting place. I can't imagine being able to do that myself.
Yeah, I tried to find them a better place to let them really feel rest and stay in rest. But unfortunately, I were not able to find a better grave. Yeah, and I will live all of my life feeling with sin and uncomfort because I didn't find a better place for their burial.
But of course, you know he will understand too, because he was in the middle of the fight to try to help people, and you tried to help him.
Yeah, and I say sometimes I say to myself that Ahmed is lucky because by a way or another he found a grave, while other people were eaten by dogs, by falcons, by ravens, were eaten by worms, and after that they were buried as skeletons, not as bodies. So, by a way or another, he was lucky because he found a grave for himself and for Muhammad, of course.
I'm happy to hear the birds singing for you today.
Thank you, brother.
So I come back to my great question of this program, Muhammad, and I think a lot of people would like to ask too. How do you do it? Where does your strength come from? What goes through your heart and your mind each day when you have to struggle to get your family anything to eat and you're living in a bombed out, toxic confinement that is the place of war? How do you do it?
I take my strength from two sources. Firstly, from the Lord, and secondly, from the loved ones, like you, like my sister Angela, like my friends who is still alive, my wife, my children, my parents, the rest of my family. Yeah, all of these people are giving me power and energy to continue.
And ladies and gentlemen, we have many pages of beautiful photographs of Muhammad's family, his beautiful young children, and you can actually get to know them through browsing through these pages. And when I hear Muhammad speak like that, I feel I understand better because I can see them. I can see their joy in each other. His young son, Jojo, who I think is 6 now, we call him Hollywood because he has such a open, wild sense of style. His real name is Jihad, after Muhammad's father. And he looked up at Muhammad one afternoon while they were trying to survive in Khan Younis a lifetime ago. And he said, "Is Uncle Jack still alive? Is Uncle Jack still alive?" In his mind, the whole world is like that. In his mind, the whole world is like that. And from one moment to the next, someone can be there with you and then gone. So to think that, Muhammad, as you're saying, that you find your strength in each other, in caring about each other, depending on each other, it's just such a powerful thing for everybody to see, Muhammad.
Yes, yes, brother. Yeah, yeah. Jojo was asking and was wondering that because he found that so many people are falling around him. He lost his uncle and his another uncle, the brother of his mother.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Of course, he know Tawfiq and Tawfiq's family. I lost my cousin. We lost so many of our neighbors. Some of them were children, and they were playing with judo. They were well known for judo. When he lost all of these people, he started to see all the life black. He started to see that the uh, origin of this life is death, and the exception is life. That's why he asked me, is Uncle Jack alive right now? Is he alive? He was asking.
Uh, well, in 3 years of growing closer to this family, ladies and gentlemen, you can see, I think, in my face that how much we've come to love them. Muhammad and I tried to begin a program called Family to Family in, quote, normal times back before October, where people could reach out via Western Union, because that's the only thing that Israel allowed into Gaza, was a transfer of some money so they could buy food and supplies and so forth. We got not one offer. We got not one goddamn inquiry about that program. And it really shocked and surprised and disappointed us. Nonetheless, as soon as it is become possible again, we are going to try to raise some kind of support for Muhammad and go on from here, from this terrible time. So, Muhammad, our time is going. Is there anything else you'd like to add today for people around the world who are listening to your voice from Deir al Balah in the middle of the Gaza nightmare between Rafah and Gaza City? There you are. Is there anything else you'd like to add today?
Yes, brother. Yeah. I want to say to you that no one here can predict what will happen in the following day. Our fates are unknown. We cannot predict anything. We cannot predict when this war, when this genocide is going to end. We have only one thing to do, which is to challenge, to do our best in order to survive all together with our families, with our children. We cannot do anything else. This is what we can do, just to try to take care of our families and to look for our existence, for our survival. I think it's the age of existentialism of Jean-Paul Sartre.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah, Jean-Paul Sartre during World War II established a new philosophical school, the existentialism.
Existentialism,
Because
yes.
exactly after the Nazi army has invaded France, French people started to think by this way, started to look only for their survival. Yeah.
Because I think they felt very much at the time that no one was going to help them. And that is exactly how the Palestinians must see it right now. Almost no one. The World Food Program has been a little bit successful in getting some food into Deir al Balah and other areas only because they have a very tight control system, not letting Hamas people steal the food. They distribute it directly into the marketplace for Muhammad and people to pick up. It's supposed to be free and it's all labeled not for sale. So you can imagine the insult when Hamas people say this will be $10, a bottle of water, $20, whatever it might be, whatever they want. And they put the money, as Muhammad says, in their pockets. They do nothing. They have never done anything for the Palestinian people except bring them misery. So we hope you'll understand today how desperate we all feel in this situation and contact your own government and demand the policy changes that can alleviate and end this nightmare for the Palestinians. That's all we can do right now as world citizens. Contact your own government and demand policy changes. But Mohammed, be encouraged as much as you can. The whole world, city after city after city after continent after country, are waking up and are demonstrating and taking all kinds of active measures to speak with you and for you in the halls of power. And I just think that you are going to be on the winning side. Keep your hope alive, okay? And take good care of each other until we talk again.
Okay, brother. Thank you so much. I am so happy with this. Thank you.
God bless you, brother. Talk to you next time.
Okay. Thank you, brother. Thank you.